watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into The Sports Source. Happy to have you with us today. Looked like it was going to be a blowout early yesterday. It was at one point, Alabama over its last 5.5 quarters had beaten its opponents, Texas A&M and Tennessee, 86-0. And it looked like they were going to beat Tennessee 86-0 overall. Tennessee turned it around. Welcome to Dobbsville, Tennessee. We'll be talking about the backup quarterback who looked good last night. That'll be a big part of our show today. Going to cover the defense, offensive line, a lot of stuff to talk about in today's show. We'll start it with this first segment brought to you by our friends Phil Cauble, Fine Homes and Land. Folks, for 38 years, Phil Cauble has been leading the way in Knoxville area realty. He and his team have helped families buy and sell more than $300 million worth of properties. That's an incredible number. That's an incredible success rate. That's possible because of their cutting-edge technology that they use and the specialized service they provide each buyer, each seller. You saw the team right there. Give them a call this week. Phil Cauble, Fine Homes and Land. All right. I give these guys a call every Sunday. Here they are. Bob Hodge, freelance contributor to the Knoxville News Sentinel. Will Overstreet, former Vol and NFL defensive end. Jimmy Himes, host of a myriad of shows on the sports animal WNML. And Chuck Cavaleris from Tennessee Golf Central, longtime coverer of the Vols. Okay. Gentlemen, it opened a little worse than expected, finished a little better than expected, interestingly enough. For once, we're not talking about the O-line. Thanks in large part, I think, to Josh Dobbs, and that's where I want to start. We're going to have a lot of topics on Dobbs. Let's go ahead and show you what's up on today. Alabama loss. Should Tennessee have played Dobbs earlier? We'll get that coming up later in the show. We'll talk Kiffin's return, defensive woes, what happened. We'll preview the final 4 games of Tennessee's schedule. Better run game last night. We'll look inside the numbers there. Cavaleris line, of course, about that South Carolina game. All right, Josh Dobbs. We can get a little later. We'll get into should he have been playing earlier and that kind of stuff, but just tell me, what did you think he brought to the table last night that you hadn't been seeing?
A lot of vision at quarterback, a lot of mobility, but the biggest thing was his escapability, if that's actually a word. I mean, the fact that he was able to get himself out of trouble when trouble got there, I thought that was huge. It's what you hadn't seen.
And you're not playing 11 on 10, which I think that's what happens a lot of times when Justin Worley was in there. You didn't have enough time to drop back and really find receivers downfield. It's the dual threat that this offense is based on.
Yeah, one guy's a mobile quarterback and one guy's a pocket passer. Yeah.
And really, truly, let's face it, when you have a mobile quarterback like Dobbs who can get on the field, and if you let him outside the pocket, he's going to make a long run possibly, it really does slow down the rush from the defensive line. Defensive ends all of a sudden are told, don't lose contain. If you lose contain, you're going to have come talk to me on the sideline. So all of a sudden, they really don't try to go do an underneath move anymore. So if tackles can understand that, they start having to only block one part of that game of that defensive lineman. So it really can benefit a team and even a weaker offensive lineman by having a mobile quarterback back there.
And I thought he threw the ball more accurately than I thought he would based on what I was led to believe from what he was doing in practice. Because all I kept hearing was he hadn't done well in practice. His inaccuracies keep him out of the lineup. He made a couple of really nice throws. Now, he missed a couple. He missed North in the end zone. But he made a couple of nice throws. He had a couple of them that I thought were dropped. I thought he played with really good poise. He looked like he was in command of the offense. I was really impressed with what he did.
I was too. He threw one interception, had one fumble, but I think overall it was a positive. He completes the pass, I think it was to North, that went through the defensive back's hands. Yeah. There were a couple of balls that could have been picked off, and if they're picked off, we're having a different conversation today. Hey, but that's the way you play the game. So when you look at Dobbs, the thing he does, and I think I'm just saying this in a reverse way, he opens up your playbook. I mean, that's the bottom line. Instead of having this is all you can do, you're able to now all of a sudden do this, and this.
Well, look at all the motion Tennessee's offense had in it.
Oh, how many times they roll the pocket?
Yeah, there was constant motion, and you haven't seen that all season.
They threw more to the tight end over the middle, too, I thought. Dobbs had 267 total yards. Alabama was giving up 262 going into that game, which I think is a reflection of how well Dobbs played.
And it was his first game of the season. Yeah. I mean, you got to put that in some perspective, too. That was the first time he's been out there, and you couldn't really tell that from the way he was playing. He didn't have that freaked-out look. It looked like he was
ready,
comfortable with the situation. Yeah. We can get this done.
I was just going to say, being his first game of the season, did that give him a leg up that maybe he loses a little bit because nobody has a book on him, nobody had seen him, Alabama hadn't.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had planned for him somewhat since he was the number 2 quarterback.
Actually, well, he was the number 3 quarterback. Depending on what they assumed. Landon Collins, their safety, said this is not the quarterback we prepped for last night after the game. Said they ran a lot more than we expected. Saban at halftime suggested we weren't ready for as many runs with Dobbs. So I think that not having a book on him, I think that did help it. Now, how much it's going to decline from here on out, you don't know. But I do think that was, you have to put that into the equation that the other guys weren't exactly ready for his style of play. Let's move just a little bit around here. We'll talk about the defense next segment. Tennessee goes down 27-0. This isn't a veteran team. You're playing 23, 24 freshmen. You fight back. Nobody wants moral victories, but again, I think that's showing that the foundation of the program is a lot stronger than it ever was in the Dooley years. I mean, that fight back was impressive, I thought.
I agree completely. And here's the thing. I think Alabama led Texas A&M about 27-0. How'd that end up?
Yeah, exactly.
59-0. A&M quit. Tennessee did not. I was really impressed with it. I think Dobbs gave them a spark. The other thing that I think helped them, too, is that while the defense started playing better, the offense helped. The offense had a couple of 10 or 11 play drives in the second quarter. They had 4 drives of at least 10 plays. And so they limited Alabama's possessions to only 13 in the game. Ole Miss had 10 possessions in the first half last week, so I thought that helped too.
That's a terrific point.
And just, I know we're going to speak about defense later, but speaking towards that defense, I think when they saw this offense start making plays and scoring points, you know, when at one point in time they gave up 14 points, the guys went, we're done. The game's over.
Right.
We can't score 14. Once they started seeing a little bit of success, they said, oh, we might need to play a little bit more. If we get a turnover, we might be able to be back in this game. I think just the essence of hope that you have somebody that if you make a few plays, you might be able to keep winning this. You might be able to be in this game. You might be able to win it. I think that made a big difference.
And ESPN focused in on one point. Josh Dobbs leads him down for a touchdown. Then he comes back to A.J. Johnson on the sidelines and whispers something in his ear like we'll handle our part, you handle yours, or something to that effect. So I think Dobbs, this goes back to that fight thing. Obviously the team likes Worley. I think that's clear that they view him as leader. But you didn't see a drop-off in that area with Dobbs in there. I think taking it back a notch. The fight, you can also put that as a little check mark in Dobbs' corner. Lane Kiffin came back last night. It was 7:30. Who knew? It was 7:30. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, if this were noon, 12:30, I'd feel a little better about what might happen. Hey, no vulgar chants, or at least the one that started was drowned out. You look at no cups thrown that I was aware of. There were no bad stories coming out. I thought the Tennessee fan base, especially the student section, showed some class last night, and I thought that was impressive.
I thought it was. The people that I was sitting with, though, they always knew where he was. That's him at the 35. Look, he's at the 40. Where's Lane Kiffin at? He's over here. But that was the extent of it. For some reason, they just wanted to know where he was.
Yeah.
And he can tell because he dresses different than the rest of the Alabama coaches.
He likes to wear white. Shows off that tan.
That's exactly right.
I thought that not only the fans treat him with treated Alabama with a little bit of class, but he showed more emotion last night on the sidelines in one game than he did in his entire season here. I mean, he looked like Michael Myers when he was here. Just no expression. He was fist pumping last night. I think he wanted that one badly, but. I think that Tennessee fans deserve credit for the way they handled that. I think that could have gone a lot worse. So I think that was a thumbs up. When we come back on today's show, we'll talk about the offensive line. A lot of changes, a lot of moving around, new guys in there. How much of yesterday's success do you attribute to the changes there, and how much just goes to the fact that you had a mobile quarterback that gave you some things you didn't have before? Also, we'll talk about it. What happened to the defense? Come on back on the Sports Source.
Want your own man cave? Turn to Benedict Construction.